If you're frequent to watching my videos, this specific video will be very different than what I typically post because I always talk about the importance of having a mentor or having a coach. And a lot of my current dropshipping students and people that have just viewed my content have asked me, who mentored you into dropshipping? How did you get to where you are currently at? And this video will go over the entire journey of how I found my first mentor, Michael Bernstein, and how he changed my entire dropshipping journey and general mindset. Now, I am in no way getting compensated by Michael or his team to make this video. He actually doesn't even know that I'm currently making the video. And he'll see this probably the same time that everyone else, like yourself, is watching the video. And I wanted to do it this way so that I can give my unfiltered, honest opinion on what it was like having him as my mentor and what it was like being in his dropshipping program. Now, all in all, I worked with Michael for right around 15 months. And within that time frame, he completely transformed the way I thought about work, dedication, and obviously my dropshipping business. And because of the results that I was having, obviously due to his help, we ended up doing 2 separate case study videos together, both posted on his channel, with the second case study being one of his highest viewed case study videos to this day. And we filmed that video, I want to say roughly 2 years ago. Now, I have this video broken down, as you can see right here, and this will give you a full picture idea of where I was at in my dropshipping journey prior to joining Michael's program, what it was like to actually work together with him, and how the program was structured. Again, I worked with him for roughly 15 months consecutively, so I'm very qualified to speak on this subject and, obviously my experiences. And after talking about that, I will go through all of my learnings and my actual results with working with him. Now, I highly recommend that you watch the video through to the end, and it's not because I want your watch hour minutes for the algorithm, but I genuinely know that this video will be extremely motivational, informative, and overall you'll get a ton of value. So to kind of start it off, I want to go through my journey before working with Michael. I first discovered the dropshipping business model all the way back in 2017 to 2018. And I'll summarize this part because I did make an entire My Journey video already it goes over everything in more detail. But basically, I had skipped school one day to just chill and play Grand Theft Auto. Now, while playing the game, I was trying to figure out how to make more money in the actual game and was watching some GTA money tutorials. Now, YouTube's algorithm really worked its magic that day, and it displayed an Alex Becker video before the video about GTA. It was about like a 20-minute ad, and I actually watched pretty much the entire thing through with the skip ad button fully visible and fully accessible in the corner. So I could have skipped the ad 30 seconds into it. I watched, I want to say like 15 or 17 minutes of that 20-minute video. And instantly after the ad stopped playing, something just clicked in my brain. And I thought to myself, why the fuck am I trying so hard to make money in Grand Theft Auto so that I can buy, a virtual sport car, virtual clothes, virtual house? And why am I not working to do this in real life? Instantly, it made no sense what I was doing, so I shut the game off and I started looking up a whole bunch of different dropshipping videos to get me familiarized with the concept. And that same day, I created my very first dropshipping store. Now, the store was complete garbage. I didn't even run any ads to the store, but it was my first step into the dropshipping world. So to fast forward a bit over the next few years, from late 2017 to late 2021, during this time, I tried a ton of different strategies, different product types, website variations, and I did all of this with very little success. And when I say very little, I mean like no success. I maybe got roughly 5 sales in that total time span of 5 years. And throughout that time period, I would get extremely unmotivated and stopped working on dropshipping because I wasn't seeing any results. And you probably watching this can relate to some degree of what I just said. And this was the cycle for me because there would be a period of months where I would be super motivated. And then there would be a period of months where I didn't do anything dropshipping related. Now, to go into how I actually discovered Michael, it was on YouTube in late 2021. At this time, I was working my 9-to-5, and I was pretty much really getting sick of where I was headed and where I could see my life going, and I wanted to make a change. Now, the 9-to-5 job was actually a decent job. It was in car sales, but at the same time, that wasn't going to get me to the point in life where I wanted to be. So I decided I needed to make a change. So while I was on I don't even really know what attempt I was on, but I was again attempting to launch a profitable dropshipping store. And I came across a guy on YouTube called Michael Bernstein. Now, I can't remember which video I first watched of his, but basically I really resonated with his content, and I noticed that his content was more value-based rather than entertainment-based, which from the YouTube landscape at that time, it completely made a lot of sense why he position his content to be more value-based, and it was very smart because I feel like 90% of us are not watching dropshipping videos for entertainment and to have fun, but instead we are watching them for value and info and to actually change our lives. Most of the dropshipping content that you see is very like cinematic, highly edited, and it's designed to increase your retention rather than information overloading you, which to a degree, that's not the best thing, but in this space, information overload, in my opinion, is good because it weeds out all the people that are here for just entertainment and for people that actually want to succeed in the business and want to start a profitable dropshipping store. So I really appreciate that he did his content this way. Anyway, I remember it being, I want to say 11 p.m. to like midnight-ish when I discovered his channel. And for the next hour to 2 hours, I watched a ton of his content and his case studies. At this point, he only had like 10 to 13 case studies, which, don't get me wrong, was a lot. However, compared to today, 2 to 3 years down the line, from then, he now has over 100 case studies on his channel, and he's crushing it. At this point, it was like 1 or 2 in the morning after I watched most of his videos, and I had to be at work at my 9 to 5 at 11 a.m. that same day. But I was super awake. I was super motivated watching his content. So I applied for a consultation, like strategy session that same night. And even after that, I still couldn't fall asleep. I just kept watching more and more of his content. Now, the following morning, I got a confirmation from his team that they would review my submission and potentially schedule a discovery call if they thought I'd be a good fit to start working with them. Now, to be honest, 1 to 2 weeks passed and I kind of forgot that I even scheduled the call. I just figured that maybe they didn't, think I'd be a good fit for the program, and it was kind of out of sight, out of mind for me. But then I remember this like it was yesterday. It was pretty quiet. It was a pretty quiet day at my 9 to 5 job, and me and a few of my coworkers were already kind of just grouped up talking about some bullshit. And all of a sudden, I get a WhatsApp call from some random German number. And at this time, I didn't know that was Michael or his team calling. I didn't put 2 and 2 together. I didn't know he was from Germany, so I had no idea. Now, I turned to my coworker. I show her the phone or the number, and kind of joke and said like something along the lines of, "You think I should answer this random WhatsApp number?" She said something to the extent of like, "Maybe if you want to." And I ended up not answering the number because who would? It's a random number. You're not familiar with it. It's a foreign number because I'm based in the U.S. and it was on WhatsApp of all places. Now, the same number called back a few minutes later, and I ended up stepping outside to answer the call because I figured, why would this random number call me twice in a row? And at this point, I still had no idea it was them. I answered the phone and I ended up talking with one of Michael's team members. And by the end of that call, he wanted to schedule a Zoom call with me to see if I'd be a good fit to start working with the team. Basically, he did this call to qualify me before having me talk to Michael himself, which makes a lot of sense because obviously Michael doesn't want to, bog himself down and waste his time if I'm super unqualified. It doesn't make any sense. So the first Zoom call with his team member went well, and I had it with them. And then I had my second Zoom call with Michael, and we instantly connected very well on a human level. And he came across super genuine when I spoke to him. The call was roughly like 30 to 45 minutes. And I'm very good at seeing past facades and seeing people for who they truly are. And he seemed very genuine. He answered all of my questions, and I basically just said, fuck it, and I signed up to his program. Now, my whole mindset was over the last 4 or so years, I tried everything, spent a bunch of money with no results. And what I was thinking was, hey, if I give this a chance, what's the worst that can happen? I'm already at ground zero. I can't go underground, right? There's, the only thing is for me to see success, which is what I want, and go up, right? There's no downside to working with him. Now, in this call with Michael, there were a few very key takeaways that I want to go over. So the first thing was he told me the importance of having a mentor and basically having someone that already walked the path that you, in this case it was me, wanted to go down. Now, the second thing was he also tried in our very first call. I wasn't even a part of his program yet, but he tried to bring down some of the limiting beliefs that I had at the time. He asked me, where do you want to see yourself as far as monthly revenue? And I kind of just threw out a number and I said 10K a month in revenue. Now, at the time, I thought this was an extremely ambitious number for me to say. And at this time, I didn't understand the whole revenue to actual profit concept. And he basically laughed, not in an arrogant or demeaning way, but he basically said, bro, you're thinking too small. You need to be telling yourself that your goal is 100K in revenue a month. And he said, by having a bigger goal, you may not actually reach it, but you will get a lot farther than if you have a super small goal like 10K a month. Now, in my head, I was in sales, so I thought this was just kind of like a sales or closing tactic to get me all hyped up about the program, which it probably was, but there was a ton of truth to what he had actually told me. And in my opinion, this was the first step for me to actually conceptualize hitting 100K in revenue in a month, with which all these years later, I've actually done it, and I've done it multiple times. Now, the next kind of segment is going to talk about actually working with Michael as my first mentor. Now, I immediately told myself after signing up that I needed to spend the next amount of time that I had to work with him seriously, and that I needed to sacrifice hanging out with my friends, sitting playing games, sitting on my phone. I needed to sacrifice all of that and to just dedicate this amount of time with working and kind of putting 100% of effort in. And I needed to solely focus on going to my 9-to-5 so that I could fund my dropshipping business and focus on the business itself. The thing that I see a lot of people kind of falling into the trap of, even when they get a mentor, is that they automatically discard their 9-to-5. And what you have to realize is that right now, you're not making any money from the business. So your focus should be the business, but you need to be actually going to your 9-to-5 so that you can fund the business. You got to get out of this mindset of thinking that everything will just be handed to you on a silver platter. You need to grind and work for your goals and ambitions. It's not going to come to you, even with a mentor, right? You have to put up the money. He's not going to put that up for you. So the actual program was structured, the actual program structure was very well laid out. It consisted of course modules that acted as tutorials and setup instructions. And the real value was having my one-on-one calls with Michael and the group calls that he hosted. Now, at this time, it was once per week. From my understanding, he now hosts a lot more group calls per week, but at that time, it was one per week, and then I had multiple one-on-one calls with him that I would schedule. Now, in the first month, I basically just followed the curriculum that he had in place. I needed to compile a list of products that I found on several ad spying platforms. Once I compiled my list of products, I was to have Michael review my list, and if there was a good one, he would pick it out for me to start testing with. Now, over the first 3 or so weeks, I did this, and he picked out my first product to begin testing. Now, towards the end of the 3 weeks of working with Michael, he had already picked out the product for me, as I just mentioned. And however, at this time, my grandma's health had rapidly deteriorated, and she basically was about to pass away. So I took 3 weeks off of work, both my 9-to-5 and obviously the dropshipping stuff. And I texted Michael in our group chat and basically said, hey, I'm going to have to take a 3-week break to go to the UK and basically have my grandma's funeral. And he told me that he hoped that, obviously everything was good and that we would continue working where we left off when I got back. So I was out in the UK with family. Obviously, it was a sad time. However, because I was around, a bunch of good people, we had a good time. And it was a very good mental break from everything work-related, both 9-to-5 and drop shipping. So after dealing with the funeral, we flew back to the US, and I felt super rejuvenated, extremely motivated, and just ready to get back to work. I had 3 days before I had to go back to my 9-to-5. So in that time, I created my website and reached out to his team, Michael's team, for the ad creatives. Now, it's important to know that during this time, Michael was heavily teaching a Facebook paid advertising strategy, which, from my understanding, he is still teaching that. However, he's pivoted to more of the TikTok organic side of things because of all the benefits that he's seen in that field. And now he heavily focuses on that. So just to keep that in mind when I talk about ad creatives and I talk about launching Facebook ads. Now, I ended up launching the Facebook ads a few days later, and in the first 2 days, I got 1 sale. The day after that, he had his weekly group call, and I explained my situation, and immediately he realized that I did something wrong in the setup. And he had me correct that mistake, and almost instantly, the next day, my product got 3 sales. Now, this wasn't profitable by any means. However, it was a proof of concept, which at that time for me, that's all I needed to see. And keep in mind, for me, this was the most amount of sales that I had ever gotten in a day. over the last 4 or so years of attempting drop shipping on my own. So over the next week, my product really started to pop off and get sales. And a key moment that will always stick with me was I was on my way to work. It was a Saturday, and I heard my phone get 6 sales back to back to back. And I thought to myself, this is the day that my life changes forever. Now, over the next few months, I believe it was 2 months, I scaled this product with the help of Michael to over 10K a month in profit. And I learned an absolute ton when it came to mindset, motivation, and just general business practices. It was extremely helpful to have somebody basically looking over my shoulder and telling me all the mistakes that I was making and how to correct them. It was also nice because whatever question that I had, he was either able to answer it himself or he had somebody in his team that could answer it. So I was never left feeling like I was in the dark or I didn't know where to turn. That's kind of the best thing that a mentor can offer, is basically alleviating that sense of like misdirection or not knowing where to turn. And his program is structured in a way where it's not overwhelming for a beginner. Like, for example, he told me and he taught me that you only need to focus on your next task. Rather than thinking of all the possible situations, scenarios, and things that you have to get done and that will happen in the future, focus on what you have to do next. And this was a really, really valuable piece of information that I still hold and I still abide to this day. Now, in this time, we also filmed 2 full case study videos together. The second case study that we filmed is to this day one of the highest viewed case studies on his channel out of the 100 or so case studies that he's filmed. And in my opinion, there's a few reasons why I believe that our case study video did so well. The first being that the info provided in that video was very high quality. And I think that my journey was very extremely relatable, and many people even enjoyed watching maybe the dynamic and banter that we had in that video. But what's funny is I have had people to this day that come and tell me that the reason they joined Michael's program or the reason that they found out about me was because of our case study together. Now, this is a very important thing to remember. The value that you get from having a mentor is invaluable, and the money that you invest in the right one will be made back in excess. Never worry about what you are paying for a mentor. Just be concerned with the potential result and outcome. Now, for me, do you think that me right now is worried about the investment that I made into Michael's program with all of the value that I got? The answer is no. I would pay that 10 times over to get the same level of outcome, right? Now, with all of that being said, throughout this kind of golden era, this 5 or so months of me just making money hand over fist, I did create a false sense of reality for myself. And some days I was making 8 to 1K in profit. And I thought that I had made it. I thought that I was a millionaire. I could quit my job, never work again. And I thought that I was successful. And what's funny is now being a dropshipping mentor myself, this is a really common trait that I see my students have, the students that have success quickly fall into, and I warn them of what will happen. And this is what happened to me. So almost instantly, the product started becoming less profitable and then started dipping into the red, where I was actually losing money. And I have never really experienced at that point losing money with this product after I had already started to scale it. And it basically came to a point where the ad fatigue was so severe that the product just stopped converting. Now, ad fatigue, for people that don't know, is something that happens when your pool of people that you advertise to have seen your ad so many times where it stops becoming effective, and instead of your ad stopping their scroll so that they can watch your video, they just scroll past it. They basically become immune to your video ad. Now, I'll be completely honest with you, this was all my fault. What I've learned is, as a man, you need to take accountability for everything that happens to you. Otherwise, you'll never learn from it. And Michael, throughout the months that my product was performing well, he warned me that this would happen, but I didn't listen. Now, he even told me that the reason he's telling me this is because a similar thing happened to him. Back when he first found success with dropshipping, he started getting complacent, thinking that he knew it all, and ended up losing a lot of money as a result. Now, it took me roughly 2 to 3 months of just pure product testing, and during this time, it forced me to really learn and understand the art of dropshipping, which at this point has now allowed me to generate multiple 6 figures after my initial winning product, which within itself generated multi 6 figures as well. And I am one of those people that will understand when I mess up, and instead of blaming anybody, I blame myself. And ultimately, I learn from the mistakes and come up with a game plan to get back on my feet. And this mindset was not something I was born with. It's not like a gift from from anyone. I had to really dig deep and figure it out for myself. Now, something that I see a lot of people asking themselves, or a question that I would even ask myself early on, was like, how do I actually choose a mentor? And how do I find a mentor? And how do I know if they are legit or if they're just a scam? And the first part of this question is pretty easy to answer. Find someone that you connect with. Also, when you watch their videos, is the information that they provide something that seems attainable and something that can, that you can easily understand? You need to see if that person resonates with you, because when you invest in a mentor, you are investing in that person just as much as you are investing in yourself. Whether you choose myself as a mentor, Michael as a mentor, which again, it's something that I highly recommend, you need to sit back and ask yourself, does this person seem likable to me? And does the information that they are providing going to solve my problem? And does it logically make sense? Now, as far as trying to see if that person is legit or not, it's pretty hard in this day and age. However, the thing that I would recommend you to look at is, does this mentor ever talk about his own results? And does he have student results, whether that's in the form of case studies on a YouTube channel or student results displayed on their social media? Another thing that I look at is, do the things that they are saying actually make sense? Or does it just seem like a super surface level bullshit, like intro information that they could just Google and pass it off as their own without doing the actual work themselves? So that's kind of how I sift out bullshit from, actual valuable mentors. Now, this next section is kind of a message to Michael. I want to give a massive appreciation and thank you to Michael, because he was my first gateway into having success with an online business, and he taught me an incredible amount of skills and provided me with endless value. I still, to this day, look at Michael as an inspiration and as my mentor, even though right now we're not actively working together at the moment. It's really interesting because when I look back on things and the stage that I'm at, now currently, is that I have students and people watching my videos that look up to me as their inspiration in the same way that I look up to Michael. And, Michael, from my understanding, looks up to people like Iman Ghazi and Alex Hormozi. And I'm sure that those two people also look up to people that are ahead of them and, in what they're doing. So the key thing to remember is, it doesn't matter how big you get. You should never stop learning and never stop having mentors that are ahead of you in whatever field that you're in. One of the sayings that I kind of came up with and I live and die by is, if you do not have a mentor that is helping you get better at some aspect in your life, whether that's health related, drop shipping, mindset, whatever it is, you're not improving or getting better. You're just stagnant. Now, if you've watched all the way to the end or to this point, it means that you are either, really like me, or you're super interested in what Michael has to offer. So I will have his YouTube channel link in the description, and I would highly recommend checking his content out. Now, the link to actually apply for his mentoring program will be displayed on his channel. I didn't want to put that in my description because I didn't want people to think that it was like some sort of affiliate thing. You can find the link to apply to his mentoring program in his channel description, in the description of all of his videos, and as a pinned comment in all of his videos as well. Now, if you found this video because you are contemplating joining his program, the short answer is yes, join the program. If you're interested in getting a mentor, find somebody that you resonate with and join their program and find out more about their program.